Hi everyone, and today we're going to be looking at the CSI story, Murder in Perugia. So the question is, where is Perugia? Perugia is a very old city in the north central part of Italy, in the region called Umbria. In Italy, regions are more or less like states or provinces. So we have here a map of Italy with the main cities, and Umbria is, as you can see, located in the north central part of Italy, in the region of Umbria. And we have a very old map here of Umbria. It is located on a hill. We've got some pictures of Umbria here. Um, on your left is one of the main gates leading to Umbria, and on your right is a view from the city itself. And you'll notice that the city is dotted with churches and cathedrals. Perugia lies in the region of Umbria, as I mentioned just now, which is a very historic part of central Italy or north central Italy. It is not bordered by any coastline. It is, however, steeped in tradition, history, and artistic legacy and other influences. As for the town of Perugia, um, it has a history that goes back over 2 to 3,000 years. Uh, it goes back to the Etruscan period, which occurred before the Roman Empire was founded. The city currently is known for its university facilities. It is a university town. It has several well-known universities. The University of Perugia was founded in 1308 and caters to about 34,000 students. There's the University for Foreigners and other smaller colleges like the Academy of Fine Arts, amongst other public institutions. Now, all of these institutions are actually very old. We have here a picture of the central piazza or the square in Perugia, which is basically the central part of the town. It's called Piazza 4th of November. More pictures of Perugia. And the main characters. Basically, this story consists of four main characters. There's Meredith Kircher, there's Amanda Knox, there's Rudy Guidi, and there's Raphael Solicito. So how are these people related? Well, Meredith and Amanda actually were exchange students who became roommates back in 2007, around the month of, say, October, or even slightly before that. Meredith was from the University of Leeds in the UK, and Amanda was from Seattle, Washington in the United States. Guide was a local, so to speak, but he was born in the Ivory Coast. He grew up in Perugia and had lived in Perugia ever since he was uh, aged 5. He was a basketball player for the Perugia youth team as well. As for Raphael Solicito, he was an Italian university student in Perugia. Now, Meredith and Amanda both shared the same address as roommates or flatmates in Via della Pergola, number 7. They also shared this house with two other ladies, two Italian ladies, that is. And so there were 4 flats in this house. And in addition to the 4 flats, there were 2 guys actually living downstairs below the house, and they were Italian guys, they were Italian men. And this is how Rudy Guidi actually comes in. These 2 Italian men actually living below the house were connected to Rudy Guidi. Amanda Knox actually met Raphael Solicito sometime in October at a classical music concert, and very soon they became romantically involved with each other. So what happened to Meredith Kercher? Well, on November the 1st, it was discovered that her throat had been slashed and she had been stabbed 47 times. 47 times. And this happened in her bedroom in Via della Pergola number 7. Or at least it was discovered in her bedroom on Via della Pergola number 7. Here are some pictures of Via della Pergola. You can very easily Google it on Google Map. This is another view of Via della Pergola. The road Via della Pergola actually skirts around the town itself. And on your left is the crime scene. This was Meredith's room, her bedroom, and on your right is the house itself. Okay, and so 4 ladies once again occupied the top part of the house, and below that lived 2 Italian men who were connected to Guede. So long story short, Meredith was killed. She was dead. Guede escaped to Germany, but he was later on arrested and he was sentenced to 30 years. His fingerprints were found at the crime scene. And both Amanda and Raffaele were sentenced to 26 and 25 years in prison, respectively, back in 2009. So what I've shared with you are the general details, actually. Here's a timeline depicting what happened from 2007 to 2009. So Meredith Kercher arrived in Perugia in late August of 2007, and she moved into Via della Pergola number 7 on September the 10th, and she rented a room from 2 Italian flatmates. Then on September the 20th, Amanda Knox comes in and she rented the 4th room. Okay, so there were 4 bedrooms, right, in that little house. By mid-October, Rudy Guede meets Kercher and Knox, and Rudy Guede actually meets them via the 2 Italian guys who actually lived below them. On 25th of October, Knox starts dating Raffaello Solicito after they meet at a classical music recital. Remember, I mentioned this earlier. They met sometime in October. And on the 1st of November, Kercher is found murdered in her bedroom, or at least her body is found in her own bedroom. And things started happening very quickly after that, right? From the 2nd to the 6th of November, Knox and Solicito were questioned by the police without lawyers, without the presence of lawyers. On the 6th of November, Knox implicates herself and Patrick Lumumba, who is another guy. Knox, Solicito, and Lumumba are arrested. Come 19th of November, the fingerprints at the crime scene are identified as Guede's, and the DNA later was identified as his. And very soon, by 20th of November, he was arrested in Germany. And Lumumba was released. So it was okay after that. Fast forward to 2008, on 1st of April, the Supreme Court of Italy upholds a detention edict for Knox, Solicito, and Guede. So they're detained. And on the 29th of October, Guede was sentenced to 30 years in prison. Knox and Solicito were charged with murder and sexual assault. Come 2009, 16th January, the trial of Knox and Solicito begins. Remember, they were still under detention then. On the 18th of November, Guede's appeal begins. By the 21st of November, prosecution requests a life sentence for Knox and Solicito, and there's a 9-month solitary confinement for Knox. And thereafter, by the 4th of December, Knox is sentenced to 26 years in prison and Solicito 25, which I mentioned earlier. Thereafter, by 22nd of December, Guede's sentence was reduced to 16 years on an appeal. There's something that is not mentioned on this slide, and that is Knox and Solicito had their sentences overturned a few years later. So in fact, they're free now. But this was a number of years later, actually. So here's the question. Why do you think Meredith Kercher, a British student on exchange from the University of Leeds, was killed? And with Knox and Solicito actually released, who do you think actually did it? So these are questions for you to think about. That's it for today. Goodbye.